Hello Hunters, and welcome back to Super Fan Natural. Hunters, what's the first thing you think of when you hear supernatural? That's right, goo. The show is full of ooze and goos of various colors and consistencies. Some are pretty, while others are downright nasty. In this long-awaited video, I'll go over every color of goo, ooze, gunk, slime, sludge, and viscous fluid that appears in the show. I know I usually upload on Thursdays, but I don't know, there's just something up today. I feel like I need to upload this must-see content. We'll start things off with the most prominent color of goo in this series, red goo. More often than not, we see red goo coming out of humans when they've been cut or injured, and this crimson ooze is sometimes referred to as blood. We don't know much about this blood. However, considering that a decent number of monsters feed off of it, I gotta assume it's pretty tasty. We know that humans aren't the only creatures in the show that have this blood within them. At the very least, we can be sure that dogs also contain blood red goo, seeing as Cass was able to trick Crowley with a jar of the stuff. Speaking of Crowley, we also see him cough up some red goo after being slapped by one of his mommy's demon-killing sacks, which causes his red gaseous essence to liquefy into a slime of the same color. This is unique to Fergus. Usually when demons get gooed, they bleed black, and they're not the only ones. If you enjoy black goo, then let me tell you, Supernatural is the show for you. It's got black goo oozing out of at least 4 different types of crevasses. We get ghosts that produce black goo, leviathans with black goo filling. We've got a Dick who explodes and covers the back end of his headquarters with thick black stickiness.
Dick is coming.
Hell, there's even an entire CGI character made entirely of black goo. But why? Why are there so many different creatures whom ooze obsidian? Well, for the answer to that, we have to look to real-world lore. According to Misha Collins, the actor who played Lucifer in Season 11, the black goo that drizzled out of his mouth in Season 7 was apparently made of some kind of mixture between dye and chocolate. And I mean, there you go. You generate black goo, you get free chocolate. Who wouldn't go for that? Okay, so black goo is everywhere, but what if you're more of a gray kind of guy or gal or good fellow? Well, good news. Gray goo is rare, however we do see it once in the series. In Season 7, the Leviathans, who we've just established are filled with chocolate, produced a gray gunk that, when injected into Turduncan slammers, would do what goo do, make the burger really tasty. In addition to pleasuring the taste buds, this gray goo would also make the consumer forget their troubles for a while, just put their mind at ease until it's time to eat another. We unfortunately never see any kind of white goo. However, there are rumors of hunters encountering some, with the only clue as to what kind of curious creature produces the milky mucus being that it usually appears around copies of Busty Asian Beauties magazine. Next up, we've got a couple of instances of glorious green goo. This particular type of slime is mostly associated with worms. Specifically, worms that crawl inside humans and make them do weird things. These creepy crawlers tend to leave behind trails of greenish gunk for some reason, and while we don't know what this stuff tastes like, we do know that one of the worms makes blood extra delicious for its hosts. We saw another instance of green goo from a specific type of ghost known as a specter. Like other ghosts, specters can generate a type of goo known as ectoplasm, and while this goo is usually black, the specter's version is green, like ecto-cooler. We do actually see Garth taste this green goo, and his reaction might lead you to believe that it wasn't very tasty. But you have to keep a few things in mind. Firstly, even though it's green, this is still ectoplasm, which, as we've just established, is usually black, thus meaning it's chocolate. Garth even identifies the green version by its taste, meaning it is green chocolate. Now, he does make a disgusted face after licking it. However, Garth is a dentist, meaning he associates chocolate with cavities, just like how I associate Sour Patch Kids with malicious arson. Our next stop on the Taste the Rainbow tour takes us to one of the rarest colors of goo in the show, purple goo. We only ever saw one type of purple goo, and it was reserved for a very special occasion, the debut of Supernatural, the High School Musical. After the goddess Calliope gets jabbed by a wooden stake, she explodes in a violent volley of viscous violet viscera. The same thing happens to the scarecrow that she enchanted, showering the audience in purple stuff that, while never tasted on screen, was almost certainly grape-flavored. After purple comes pink, which just like purple, was pretty rare in goo form, only having one example. In the show, there's a made-up type of angel called a Ritazian that can vaporize an entire person and reduce them to a mess of pink goo. Nobody ever tastes this goo, probably because that would be cannibalism, which is illegal. We can assume that it tastes like people, and I don't know about you, but personally I would never have any experience with that. Before I move on to the last and bestest form of goo, I've got to quickly touch on a couple of colors that just didn't get any love. First we've got yellow, which fuck that color, but then there's also blue, We got 0 blue goo, and that's just unacceptable. It's such a pretty color, and it rhymes with goo, yet we never got to see it in goo form. Truly the worst missed opportunity in the show. The last kind of goo we got was saved for last because, while it may not be the rarest, it is the most mysterious. In the show, we see a few examples of metal objects being temporarily converted into orange goo before quickly turning back into regular metal somehow. I'm neither a metallurgist nor a goologist, so how exactly the science here works is a mystery to me. However, it seems like the reaction requires the object to be placed into a glowing orange hand. Then, it gets gooed before eventually turning back into metal. For example, in Season 6, we saw a dragon grab hold of a metal crowbar with his glowing orange hand, and soon after, the metal started turning into orange goo. I've seen some people theorize that heat might be involved here somehow, but again, I'm not a heat doctor, so I can't say how well that theory stacks up. We never get to see anyone taste this elusive orange ooze, probably because it remetallifies before anyone got the chance. I'm guessing it tasted like cinnamon, but this is one of those mysteries that we'll just never have the answer to, I guess. But that's it. That's literally every single type of goo to appear over all 15 seasons. This topic has been requested nonstop for months, but I had to wait and I could only put it out on this particular day, April 1st. I hope you found it good, but if not, then don't worry, there's another regular scheduled video coming out on Thursday. I hope to see you then, but for now, carry on,